Hello, sweet souls. How are you? How are you doing? How are you feeling? There's a lot, right? There's a lot in the air. There's a lot in the resonance between us. And yet here I am showing up, hearing the call to come in and talk to you about the soul. So today I'm going to speak to you about all the ways your life changes when you hear and follow your soul. Simple, right? I'm going to try and get through as many as feels alive for me right now. I'm sure I could do this video a dozen times because I began listening to my soul, hearing this other voice inside of me nearly 10 years ago. And some of you may call it awareness, some of you may call it intuition. As the soul has explained it to me, it's not those things. The soul is the ringleader of all the voices within. And intuition is one aspect of ourselves. The mind is one aspect of ourself. The heart and its emotions, another aspect of ourselves. The witness, awareness, another voice within. The soul takes all of that in and speaks through the stillness and has changed my life by doing so. And a lot of this stuff unfolded when I began working with ceremonial cacao, a medicine of my lineage. It opens the body to love and compassion and all the sweet things in life. And if you want to learn more about cacao, you can go to a link in my bio to read about it. But today, I want to speak about how listening to my soul and following its guidance has changed everything, absolutely everything in my life. I would not even be here recording this video for you if I did not hear my soul, acknowledge it, and decided to stop following all the other voices outside of me and the judgment of the mind and just follow that pure voice, that calm voice of love and compassion from within. So the first thing that happened, and this is major because it changed all my relationships. Many relationships fell away and some new people came into my life. But the soul teaches you to allow your emotions, to just allow them, to feel them, and to integrate them. Simple. We do not want emotions and the energy of emotions to be stuck in the body. We need to feel them. We need to process them. We need to allow them. Let them move through you. Let them integrate into you, right? And then you increase your capacity for so much that this life is about, for so much joy, for so much abundance, for so much of all the sweetness in this life. So the first thing I did was hear the soul to say, allow your emotions, feel them. Feel them so that we can move on to some better things, some other things, right? And once I gave myself permission to feel everything I was feeling, because the soul, my soul, gave me permission to do that, I began feeling so grateful, feeling so much awe for everything that was around me and for everything that was within me. And gratitude, that feeling of gratitude, it's so close to love, it's so close to authenticity. It changes everything for you. If even through loss, if even through tragedy, you can find some gratitude, any gratitude, you will transform and alchemize all those feelings far quicker. And as I felt gratitude, I felt more aliveness. I felt this energy of aliveness moving through my body. And that allowed me to do a few things. One, I followed what lit me up. And for those of you who watch my stories on Instagram, you know that in following what lit me up, following the call, so much of my life changed. right? I picked up and left the suburbs many years ago and moved to the sea, to the ocean, because I heard the call from the ocean. I heard that element calling me to its waters. I even heard it call me to get into the water in the middle of December. In New England, that's cold. I waited a few months before I got it, but I heard it and I followed it. And I followed it through so many changes of my work, changes in my relationships, in my friendships, even changes of my home, because I got in my car and moved across the country. So that is what it means to follow what lights you up, to hear the call from the soul and to follow it, as all the other parts of you allow, right? Sometimes the mind doesn't want to allow us to do that. I get it. This world is scary. There's a lot of scary things happening. And also, there are ways to allow us, you, to follow what lights you up in very tiny ways. Even if it's, I keep hearing this call to try cacao and to not drink tea or not drink coffee today. And that may light you up. So if you see my life on Instagram, you'll know my whole life changed, and I share a lot of imagery over there of what my new life looks like. And it's very different. Part of hearing the soul is not just allowing the emotions, feeling gratitude, and following what lights you up, but the soul invites you to bring some curiosity to what you're afraid of, to what scares you, to what feels like a shadow within you, to what you do not want to look at, your wounds, your trauma, your pain. Why does it hurt every time someone says X or Y, right? And the soul, in the spaciousness, in the stillness, that space in which you hear it and speak to it, and I literally speak to my soul like I'm speaking to you. In that space, it brings a lot of curiosity. So you naturally follow your wounds and your fears and your shadows to understand them, to allow them. And you do this not because someone told you to, not because someone outside of you said, hey, you're a problem or you have a problem, go look into this. You do this because the soul says, hey, I want to know a little bit more about that. Why? I'd like to help that dissolve so I feel less fear, because the soul is about joy. The soul is about adventure. The soul wants you to have new experiences. And to do some of those things, you need to, if you so desire, work through your fears. And I know you can work through your fears. And the soul helps you do that. Part of that process of working through all the fears and the wounds, well, that allows a kind of healing, right? That allows you to heal old stories, old relationships. And I don't mean the kind of healing where you go back and have a conversation. It's wonderful when you can bring some closure, but closure is really an inside job. It's not an outside job, right? Closure is really about you coming to some understanding with yourself, permissioning yourself to allow what happened and forgive yourself. Show yourself compassion. The soul allows all of that to happen. And in that way, you heal. Heal is the word that's so popular right now. Everybody's on a healing journey. But I want to reframe that for you. You are not on a healing journey. You are on a wholeness journey. You are and have always been whole. There's nothing wrong with you. If there's anyone outside of you that says that there's something wrong with you, I would invite them to allow that statement to reflect back to them, because you are whole just as you are. And the process of bringing curiosity to all the pain and all the trauma and all the wounds, like that is a process of remembering wholeness, of remembering how whole you are, of forgetting what conditioning has told you that you may be. Forgetting what you learned in school, forgetting what your parents said maybe by mistake, forgetting what a partner said, all of that. You are on a wholeness journey. The soul helps you remember how whole you are. The other thing that happened as I started listening to my soul, I would get into stillness and quiet space and have a conversation with the soul. And the more I talked to the soul, the more I explored my wounds with curiosity, the more my magic began to reveal itself. And magic is a big word. It can mean lots of things, right? One of my websites is called We Are Magic. And that's because we have the capacity to do all of this inside of us. We don't need anyone outside of us to tell us how to do this. I'm here telling you because that's the call I hear from the soul to tell you about my journey, right? But this is all within you. And as part of this process, so much of my magic was revealed. I could hear myself clearly, and I could pay attention to the gifts of this body as they emerged, right? And that means everything from my passions and my interests and what I was really good at, what I excelled at, right? To what I could hear, the connection I had with my ancestors, the connection I have with grandmother cacao, with ceremonial cacao, the wisdom of the ancestors that told me to start hosting cacao ritual, to start creating spaces for us to remember, to reclaim the soul, our soul. We should probably do a whole video on magic, right? But listening to the soul revealed my personal magic, and it will reveal your magic. In addition, for me, the soul called me back to be in relationship with my ancestors, with my lineage, right? To not just tend to an altar with them, but to have a conversation with them, dialogue with them in the astral space and in this 3D space where we are. And I did so much work to bring curiosity to the wounds in this body, which ones were mine from this lifetime or others, and which ones belong to other people that just came down in my lineage. You know, one of my spiritual teachers many years ago said to me that I carry the weight, the seriousness, the burdens of so many generations of my mother's line right here on my shoulders. Like right here, it's always present with me. There is a seriousness that is a part of me that they bring forth. There is a seriousness to this work. And then I have this other side, my father's lineage, that brings joy and brings fun and invites me to sit down with friends and just have a really joyful conversation, right? To find the balance within. So if you so desire, listening to your soul will help you hear your ancestors, understand what's yours and what's not. And you can rewrite those stories. I've rewrote so many stories with particular people in my lineage. And that is an invitation to you if you so desire to. The soul, of course, is adventurous. So as I hear the soul, it guides me toward adventure. Literally, like the soul said, it's time to go. You're done here. I could feel it in the body when I was living in New England. New England's fine, but my work right here is done, right? And I asked where I was going. And it showed me clearly that there was a place I was going to end up, but there was a place I was going first. And so I slowly dismantled my life, put everything in storage, had a surgery that I had to have on my ankle so I could move in the world better. And the moment my surgeon cleared me, I put everything in my car and I drove across the country. And here I am currently in Texas, right? I do not know why I was called to Texas exactly. And it's not my job to know, right? My job is to follow the soul, to follow the next step or the next 2 or 3 steps. I'm not here. It's like one of my mentors used to say, it is above my pay grade to know how this turns out. It's above my pay grade to know why I'm here right now, right? That wisdom will drop in time. It will come, right? But I followed adventure. I followed love of self, and moved across the country. I think that's the other thing that the soul did was, I know that you want to plan for how things are going to work out. I know you want to know the next 20 things that you're meant to do to bring your soul work into the world, to create a life that's far more abundant or easier, less hard. I know you want to know all of it. When you live from the soul and follow its guidance, when you hear it and follow it, you are invited to just know the next step. And the next step is the most important step. You know, I started doing yoga like 8 or 9 years ago. This happened at the same time as cacao and hearing the soul. And I saw this wonderful teacher where we would spend 90 minutes 3 times a week taking the whole class to get to one pose at the end. And we would go through 20 different variations, different ways to get to that pose, right? And she used to say, like, you don't need to know how to get here. The next step is the most important step. That's the step to be concerned with right now. So the soul surfaces your next step. It tells you what's next. It doesn't tell you what's going to happen in 10 steps. And I know your mind wants to know it all. I get it. And listen, if that's important, make a little deal. Have a little conference between the soul and the brain and allow them to work out some things. Tell me more than one step. Tell me 3 steps, right? I take this life now step by step, here to here. I don't need to know how it's going to end. That is the wisdom and the encouragement that I get from the soul and also now from the ancestors. They don't even want to tell me how it's going to end, what's going to happen. They want me to follow the next step. They want me to follow my soul, follow my wisdom, follow my guidance, and they want the same for you. Your soul wants that for you. The other thing that switched, this is a lot. I started writing this at the top of my to-do list. I invite this, like I lay this on the altar if you want to take it and use it. But you know how we have a task list or all the things we have to do? At the top of that list, I wrote, what would love ask of me? The soul is love. The soul is your divinity, right? And so every time I went to my to-do list, I would ask myself the question, what is love asking of me? Not what is fear asking of me? Not what do I have to do or else? That's fear, right? What is love asking of me? In fact, this morning I woke up and I had so much that I wanted to do. I heard so many things. Work on this, work on this. I'm working on a program, a longer term program to take people through hearing their soul, awakening to its wisdom. And I just heard the next step is to turn on your camera, just record, to do that, right? Because that's what love wants you to do. Love wants you to share love with others. So by following the soul, I now let love guide me as often as possible. I am human, right? I get scared just like you. I get scared less than I used to, but I still have fear. I'm with you. And also I ask myself, what would love do with this? What is love asking of me? The other shift or transition or change that happened when I started listening to the soul and following it, I now automatically see the challenges and the pain in my life, right? Because I'm not without it. I still suffer because the mind and the body chooses that suffering sometimes, right? But I now automatically consider the gifts first, right? There is a gift in a situation. I may not know the gift immediately, but I automatically say there is a gift here. There is a shift. There is a transformation. It makes me think of the Tower card. Every time I see the Tower card, and I've seen it several dozen times over the last 10 years, because my life really did fall apart bit by bit by bit. Literally, right? Lost my dad. A year later, lost my mom. Lost my 20-year relationship. Lost the home that I'd known for 20 years. Lost my work. It fell apart. It didn't feel right anymore, right? Lost lots of relationships as I went through my shifts. And through that process, I said, what is the gift of this transformation? What is the gift of the Tower moment? Because there's always a gift. If we choose to see it, and you don't have to see it, but I choose to see it, and the soul helps you see it. And lastly, I have begun designing a life that holds and powers the new version of me. And not just the new version of me, the one that's sitting right here with you, but like the one that's coming, right? Because we're changing in every single moment. I allow change, and I'm creating a life that allows that change. Instead of standing so firmly, right? So firmly on the earth with 2 feet planted, like that's wonderful. That's great. And also, I sort of allow this waviness. I allow the water to merge with me, and I become flexible so that when things come at me, they don't hit me as hard as they used to. And I can transform that pain into some gift, some prosperous moment of some kind. So that's like a short story, maybe a long story on how the soul and listening to it, hearing its voice, how it has changed this life. And if you believe in lots of lifetimes, it's probably changed many lifetimes moving forward as well. This is the lifetime in which I was meant to hear the soul. This is the lifetime in which I was meant to stumble upon cacao, ceremonial cacao, and begin to commune with it, begin to sit with it, begin to allow it to hold me, begin to meditate with it, pray with it, whatever feels good to me, right? And now I sit with cacao every single morning. And in that process, I've sat with my soul. I sit with my soul every single day. And I allow it to change my life and guide my life. And so I wanted to share those with you today. I'm just listening to see if there's anything else. The invitation is to awaken your soul's voice, to let it guide you, to let it hear all the other voices within, and to let it lead so that you may embody soul-led living and total sovereignty over your soul. And that feels like enough for today. That is what I leave on the altar between us. And I thank you for being here. And I'll be back again very, very soon.